welcome to Let Jamie Talk. I'm Jamie here with, I don't know why my voice did that weird thing. But anyway, I'm here with Ben like usual, and Brett's in the back. We gave him his mic back today. So we had Arlo last week, and that was really fun. And anyway, sorry for my voice is crackling a little bit like always. That's kind of the norm.
It is fun. You never know what you're going to get. Sorry, I
know.
had to laugh a
it's
little
like
bit.
I'm going through puberty again. It's like reliving it all. But actually, I'm going to the doctor today.
Oh,
I have an appointment.
Today?
Yeah, actually just right behind us. The hospital is right behind us, and my doctor, Dr. Dave, he's going to hook me up, get me all fixed up. I'm afraid what might be true is what somebody commented about reflux.
Ooh, why? Do you have any insight?
Here's the only thing I know. My wife and I suffer, I believe, from the same symptoms.
Right.
And so she went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and they did the scope thing down your throat. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how they did that before, but she described it. And it's a little camera, right, on an end of a wire with a light on it, and they stick it up your nose.
Oh.
Yeah, because I was thinking, just open your mouth, like that. No, through your nose.
There's no gag reflex.
Do they give you a sedative for that or anything?
I don't know. I think they did use like some kind of numbing something just so it didn't like tickle you and make you sneeze or something. So she said it went great. But anyway, I was like, honey, I have a camera like that. We just ran it down the sewer pipe the other day on the job site. It's the same kind of thing, but it's a little bigger. I don't think it'll work. So anyway, how's it going, Ben?
It's going well. You know, we're here. We've got to try to, be as good as Arlo on a podcast now.
It's hard to follow that.
Everybody loved it.
I'm glad. Arlo is such a great guy. You can't blame people for just loving him.
Yeah, he did catch me yesterday down at BCO and said how much he enjoyed it. So
that's right.
Oh, he was smiling from ear to ear.
Oh yeah, he was a little nervous about coming on or whatever, because you don't, this setting and people are not used to, sitting down in front of microphones and talking and all that. So I get that. But he did great, and I think he's itching to come back at some point. Maybe we can find some kind of topic to bring him back on, to weigh in on or something. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think he was just like, he was talking to Jan after he went home, and it was just like, she was like, did you talk about this and this and this? And he was like,
oh,
no.
No, now he's reminded of all the stuff he forgot.
He was like, okay. I won't spill any of the secrets, so we'll let him do that later on. Yeah. Well, today we are going to dive in to the topic of the accident.
Yes,
that accident.
The hand accident. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. And, I think there's going to be a lot to cover. There's going to be a lot of questions probably generated from this conversation to dive back into later. But we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
I was going to catch up with you about what's going on with the mega modern build.
Well, the mega modern build is going very slow, as people are aware because of all the videos on the same topic, that keep coming out. Well, it's siding. We've been doing siding forever.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to go on for a while now. But we are making some serious progress. We got big news to report.
Okay.
The roof is finally getting started.
Oh, really?
We have metal roof material on site. We have real roofers on site.
On the roof?
And they are on the roof, and they're putting the metal down, and they're making their plan for installing all the soffits and fascia, which is part of the deal that I made with them to do all that. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to do it. So my crew is freed up to continue making progress in other areas. Soffits is not a job I normally sub out, though, Yeah. But since it's all metal, and these guys are great at cutting metal, bending metal, making weird stuff out of metal work together, And
better than you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, they do it. They do it more often.
They do,
and
it
it's
every day,
also 40 feet off the ground.
Yeah. The real trouble with this that makes it difficult on this job is that everything is high. Like Brett was saying, it's you're gonna have to be in a lift. You're gonna have to be on a scaffold. You're gonna have to be crawling around, climbing around. Once you get there, it's like it's not hard. Like if you were physically standing where you could reach where you could work, the part that you need to work on, that part is easy. It's really, I bet it's equal parts of work getting yourself there and then actually doing the work. And I got to tell you, this week, my son Carter, who's 12, he wanted a shelf in his room over his bed, and not just a plain simple shelf, but like one that goes around the corner. Ooh. It's like an L-shaped floating shelf, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, we can make that. And he's never really done any woodworking project so much. I mean, little things, little crafty things, but not anything from taking rough lumber and making it, finished lumber. And so we went through all the tools that we're gonna look at them in some of the pictures. I hope that you can pull up here today.
Yeah.
Of the shop, showing the joiner and the planer and the table saw. And so I got to kind of coach my son through what these tools do and how to use them. Of course, I didn't just send him in there to go use them. I did most of it myself, but with high extreme amounts of caution, was able to allow him to help on each of the machines. And of course, he's highly aware of what happened to me and probably has some great at least respect or realization of the danger of these machines. But it's of course my job to make sure that he can do this safely. So all right. So we made the shelf. Okay. We did it all. He did tons of it. He did all the sanding. He did all the finishing with the polyurethane. And then we installed it last night, actually. So we found the studs on the wall, showed him how to do that with a stud finder. We measured where the stud locations are and transferred those measurements to the shelf. And we fitted the corner where the drywall mud is a little bit built up in a corner. Mm-hmm. We did all the things that I do at work.
Okay.
And I'm teaching him how to do it, the way that I do it, whether that's the right way or not, I shouldn't say, but the way that I do it, he's learning some things, and he actually really had fun.
And it was a floating shelf.
Yeah.
So how did there's different ways to attach a floating shelf to a wall. Yeah. So how did that happen?
Well, since this one is 90 degrees around a corner in an L shape, and it's actually pretty big, it's 30 inches on the short leg and 5 feet on the longer leg.
Yeah.
I should have taken a picture of that maybe next week.
Yeah.
We say that all the time. They never show the pictures. So that's what we do here.
We're working on it.
So what I did is I actually got some finished head screws that are Torx bit. They're maybe 2.5 inches long. And what I did is sort of like a pocket screw, if you will, from the top and the bottom. So it's a 2-layer shelf about a foot apart vertically. Mm-hmm. And on the back of the top shelf, I screwed basically down through the top. And then on the bottom of the bottom shelf, I screwed up from the top.
Okay.
Now, to drill those holes, to pre-drill it, though, this is pretty interesting. You know what a pocket screw is, right? Mm-hmm. Like a Craig jig. Everybody uses, and they're great. I use them too. When you use the guide for the Craig bit and you use the Craig bit, the big drill bit, it drills like a huge hole.
Right.
I mean, like a giant hole for the flat part of the washer of the screw to seat into and be completely flush below the surface. So that's too extreme because that leaves a big, giant gouge in your board. Although they do make plugs that fit those. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
They come with the little kit, and that's great. I don't use those much, but instead of doing that, I actually drilled from the back edge. So I marked on the back edge of where the stud was, and then I drilled at an angle because it's hard to start a drill bit at a super shallow angle, right? Because it just runs off or walks off. Mm-hmm. Or if you're really skilled, you can do it. But you're guessing at where it's going to pop out on the back. And so that's a problem. So what I did, I started on the back edge of not quite 1 inch thick, maybe 3/4, 7/8, in between it really.
Yeah.
You start on the back edge and then you drill out through the face of the board. Because I'm really concerned with getting a super shallow angle and having it come out of the back where I want it, not necessarily on the top, because it didn't really matter within reason. Okay, so we just started all the screws and held the thing in there and zipped them all in. Huh. Stuck a level on it, and it was great. Okay. Worked out really nice.
How much weight will it hold?
I told him don't do pull-ups on it, although I bet it'll hold 100 pounds.
Okay.
Speaking of pull-ups, if you see me doing this today, and making the sounds like this, it's because I did pull-ups yesterday.
You're trying to get swole before you went to the doctor. That's what it was.
Pull-ups is such a challenge.
Do you do one arm pull-ups?
No, I just, both arms. Yeah, I take this off. Actually, I don't wear my device when I'm doing the pull-ups because I don't want to hold my whole body weight by it or anything because I might hurt myself.
Yeah.
But I can hold on to a pull-up bar just fine. But anyway, I want to get good at pull-ups. I'm so jealous guys that can do pull-ups like it's nothing, like 10.
Yeah.
Like if you can do 10 pull-ups, you're a stud.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, if you can do one, you're on your way to being a stud. Honestly, if you can do one solid real pull-up.
Right.
Brett's pointing to the shoulder.
Not a chin-up, a pull-up.
I mean, hands forward. No, not reverse, because that's like different. I don't know, but I'm threatening to build a pull-up bar to weld one together and put it somewhere
for
So every time I walk by, I'm like, I'm gonna do a stupid pull-up, and then they're,
perfect.
doesn't that sound fun? I'm sure everybody wants to do it now.
Let's take a picture of your back today, and then
Yeah.
we'll take a picture of your back in a couple months.
That'd be great.
Be
There's
like,
nothing to see, folks.
Jamie's ripped back from
Yeah,
pull-ups.
Right. It feels ripped, like broken.
Apart.
Yeah. So did you work on the new house?
Oh yeah.
What's it called?
We're calling it the Pine Cottage.
The
I
Pine
think.
Cottage.
Hey, what is it
Yes.
called on YouTube though? Eric has come up with a name for the video series. There's a real short video series that we're making on this.
Well,
Because that came out on Sunday, right?
I think,
yeah.
last Sunday was our first video about it where we're clearing all the trees off and hauling a bunch of stuff away, which was really fun.
Well, he's calling it a quick renovation of a 1920s cottage home.
Okay, super. That's a little bit longer than I was thinking, but
Well, it's SEO heavy.
okay. I don't know.
Nobody
what that
knows
means
what a pine
either.
cottage. Nobody knows what a pine
What
cottage
is
is.
SEO?
Search engine optimization.
Oh,
This is
of
why
course.
Jamie's on the
Look,
mic
I'm
and not
in charge
behind
of
the
this
computer.
stuff. I'm in charge of talking to the camera.
That's true.
That's it. It's my job.
Do your job, man.
Stay in your lane.
Okay, so let me say that the job is going great. The Pine Cottage renovation is a very short, like 3-week renovation compared to the other ones that we've done.
Yeah.
Because we're talking those were over a year.
Yeah.
long
But that's
each.
for now.
For now, and
Because you'll do a deeper dive maybe one day. right?
I think we will, but boy, it's a toss up with this one because it's good enough to like keep, but we don't know what's inside the walls,
Right.
like the old wiring. We don't know if any of the walls are insulated. We can see in the attic, and it has some insulation, and it's of course not up to code or not up to par, but it's in an in between state,
Yeah.
and it's probably going to stay there.
Yeah.
But it looks beautiful.
I can't get over that weird toilet room.
You can use the toilet and wash your hands in the sink without reaching out too far in front.
But only if you're 5'9" and can get through the door.
Yeah.
Because the door is about 6 feet tall.
It's
I almost have to duck. Ben
it's
might have to
almost-
duck.
Yeah. It's almost just like a Jack and Jill toilet.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a sink in there, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
cool.
I guess
It's-
it technically is a half bath.
It's really cool if that's what you're getting at.
It's the perfect house.
It's-
it's the perfect house for the Perkins Builder Brothers crew because I don't know if everybody knows this, but you guys are all 5'9" or less, except
Thank
for
I'm 5'10", bro. 5'10". I
That's
got
right.
it marked on a giant ruler that I made on the wall in my
okay,
kids'
fair
bedroom.
enough.
So anyway, that's been going great. We have been bouncing back and forth between jobs.
Right.
We call this a tweener. This little Pine Cottage remodel tweener.
Yeah. It's a tweener. We talked
But
about that.
we are almost done with siding, and I'm sure our YouTube audience on Builder Brothers is ready to see us do something else.
Yeah.
Almost probably as bad as we're ready to do something else, and be done with painting siding and installing siding. I got to give credit to the crew though; they have really installed all the siding. Like I haven't installed any siding really.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
I mean, there were some pretty intricate corners and joints, and you didn't do anything
No.
there?
If
Nothing?
you watch the video, you'll only see one time that I install siding.
Okay.
And I did a really good job on the ones that I put in, but it was low to the ground and easy to do. And they're doing all the stuff up high, and it's difficult, and it is ongoing. We'll say that. So some steps coming up here. Obviously, roof soffit. We mentioned that.
Right.
Stone. I've got a stone guy that's going to be doing some chimney stone work. And then we're trying to move on to some tongue and groove ceilings and wrapping those big decorative beams, we're calling them. We called them fake beams forever, but
Yeah.
we moved on to decorative. That sounds better.
Gotcha. All right. And you figured out something to cover those in?
Oh, yeah. I ordered
Sweet.
a bunch of lumber. Sorry, not Brett. You're not getting it. Brock. Brock is ordering all the lumber from a buddy of his. We're going to send it out to get pre-finished.
Oh, so they're going to be wood wrapped?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you've moved on from the stucco sort of look.
Oh, well, okay, wait. I got to clarify between beams and posts. So the giant vertical columns,
Okay.
those are going to be stucco.
All right.
And that's yet to be determined. Like, is it going to be synthetic stucco? Is it going to be regular masonry stucco?
Gotcha.
I was going to get my stone guy. George was going to do it. And then after thinking about it a while, he says, I don't want to do it. I got a buddy that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know the guy's name yet. And I said, man, I need this guy's name. I need his number. We need to get together. I need to send him pictures or get him up here on site. And so there's still some things to be figured out about that.
Okay.
But in the order of events, building is like everything's a catch-22, like where you need to get something done, but I can't do that until this is done. Like, for example, those wood ceilings, the tongue and groove wood ceilings. I would like to have the stucco on the columns done first. I would like that.
Right.
Is it possible? I don't know, because of the timeline. It could take them a month to stucco these columns, but I'm going to be ready to do the wood ceiling way before that. So, building on a timeline is difficult when you're not in control of all the events happening, right? You're waiting on other people to do things, and their schedule is out of your control. And so you got to like make the best of whatever, you got dealt, sort of. So I always try to be calling people way in advance, though. That's the thing that I try to do, like way before I need somebody. I think you're way behind if you call somebody when you need somebody.
For sure. Yeah.
I call and say, hey, I'm going to need you in 2 months. And I call them in a month. Hey, I'm going to need you in a month. Hey, I'm going to need you in 2 weeks. I need you in 1 week. I need you in 2.5 days. I need you today.
That's very considerate.
That's the way I go.
It's funny because Nathan, our electrician that you use and that Ben and I use,
right?
Every time I call him, it's an emergency. He's like, when do you need me?
He loves that. By the way, I keep thinking
he loves that.
I'm still thinking I need to repeat what Brett's saying.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's got a mic.
You don't.
Look at that.
You don't.
Oh man, yeah. So work's going good. I was going to say, is my hair doing okay this morning? Because
I don't know. You don't like looking at
I can't see in the camera because you don't have the thing on the screen there.
Well, you said you didn't want it there.
I know it's a distraction.
Because you keep looking at it.
It's a distraction.
Look at your hair.
Well, I took a little Jeep ride this morning to take my son to school.
I did see you brought the Jeep.
The Jeep has been a pain because the clutch has been messed up for like 6 months.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
that's why it's not been out a lot.
I just got it fixed, and this guy fixed it for me, and he found a bunch of stuff wrong. He's like, whoever did your last work really burned you good. I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I didn't look at it. I don't even know what I'm looking at. And so I said, man, you got a lot of nerve fixing that thing just right when 6 other people screwed it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been fun. It's enjoyable to enjoy a nice mountain morning. It's not too cold. Get out there, let the wind blow in my hair,
and the rain hit you in the face.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I drove it home. So this is kind of funny. The Jeep doesn't have a top. Right. There's no top. It's got a roll bar. Yeah. And I've been working on it for over a year now. Really closing in closer to 2 years. And I took the windshield wipers off at some point in my fixing of everything. And I hadn't put them back on yet. They've been off for like a year or two or, whatever, the whole time. And so the guy calls me and says, hey, your Jeep's ready for pickup. And I say, okay, cool. I mean, I'll come get it. It's across town. It's like 1 mile away. And he said, well, we're closing at 4:30 and, I got other vehicles to get in the shop. I need you to come get it. And it's pouring rain outside. So I'm like, I'm going to have to, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I kind of begged him to make a deal where he could like park it somewhere else inside for me. And they were willing to do that, of course, but I could tell they just really wanted that thing gone. So I just sucked it up and I jumped in that thing and just started driving through town in the rain. And I didn't feel really stupid until I sat at a red light. I'm just sitting there getting rained on. And then I finally got out of there. I got to the road that goes to my house where it's like the straightest, longest section of road with no lights or anything. So I drove a little faster. But like water's like, going against the windshield and I can't see. And then because the eddy effect, like wind is whipping in behind me and water is like sticking to the backside of the windshield too. And anyway, I made it home just fine. But riding around in the rain, it is hard to look cool.
Yeah. In
a convertible Jeep with nothing when it's raining.
I think we really missed a video opportunity there.
The cool factor is just out the window, so to speak. Yeah, but it doesn't stop me. I just don't care.
You could have recorded some of that while you were.
Well, it's
not only were you driving in the rain without windshield wipers, why couldn't you hold a camera?
Oh, I would have looked really cool selfieing myself riding through town trying to stick shift. It's like trying to hold my tea this morning.
Well, you have a visor cam.
And my thing. Oh, I know. Brett got me a visor cam. I'm supposed to start selfieing myself.
Yeah,
driving around telling stories.
Well, how do you pass an inspection without windshield wipers?
My Jeep is a classic. It's old enough that I don't think it matters.
In North Carolina, it's 25 years.
Oh,
if it's older than 25 years old.
I'm good to go.
And you don't have to get inspected?
Not for roadworthiness.
I will put them back on, though. I will put them back on when I get done.
Gotcha.
So, okay.
So for everybody in London, they have to have an MOT no matter what. So even if you have a car that's built in the 80s, you still have to pass a roadworthy test.
Right.
We don't have to do that. You may have to do that. It's state by state.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't either, man. I've seen some really old tires.
I don't think it's a bad thing. Now, I mean, okay, we'll stop there on that.
Yeah.
Some places don't have it at all. Like Florida.
Yeah.
I think.
I like how you said we're going to stop there, and then you threw out another
Yeah,
comment.
I know. Yeah, that's the thing I do.
Yeah.
Threw Florida under the bus.
That's okay.
Did you? I was in town last night. Do you know Caleb McCoy?
I do. I actually went to high school with him. He's younger than me, so we didn't really. I was going to say run together, but we we did though. Yeah. So Caleb, he just ran all the way across the United States.
Yeah, he started in San Diego 50 some days ago.
Yeah,
and has now made it to Bryson, and is on his way to Wilmington.
Man. That must be hard passing home and thinking you're feeling a little bit of a feeling like you're done, but you still got to run.
Yeah, it was neat to see him, because there was, quite a good amount of people.
Yeah.
It felt like the end probably for him, but it's like not the end. There's like 500 more miles to go.
What day is he on, Ben? 54?
Something like that, yeah.
He does have a YouTube called Caleb McCoy II, and it is a really good charity. It's about raising awareness for Native American drug abuse and everything, and he'll tell you his whole story, and it's you guys should check it out.
Yeah,
it's really a powerful story.
Yeah, it's about his recovery story.
Yeah.
Because maybe not during high school, because I knew him in high school as well, but after that time, he had a hard time with with drugs and addiction and substance abuse, all kinds of stuff. So,
well, that's awesome.
But now to see him today, recover from that and be running across America to raise hope to help others in the same situation he was in at one point.
That's very good.
His
That's
charity,
amazing.
it's called Res Hope, right, Ben? His nonprofit.
Yeah,
Res Hope.
Res Hope.
Okay, it's an amazing feat there, pun intended. And so, we and him ran cross country together,
right?
In high school and back in the year of maybe 2000, 2001 ish, 2002. And so that was the last of my running days, pretty much. I ran for like 7 years straight. Starting in 6th grade through 12.
Yeah, you used it all up right then, huh?
I pretty much was done. And then whenever it was that we built my little barn thing, the little lawnmower barn thing, maybe it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I ran into Caleb, and I had a little interest in starting to run again, and I had not run any really. And he asked if I would go running with him or if I wanted to. I said, yeah, sure. So I meet him at the gym like early in the morning, and he does like a 20-minute warm up with stretching, some, exercising. I never did any of that when I ran. And so I'm like, can we get on with running or what? Like, what is all this? I was like, let's go running. But anyway, we finally did, of course. We ran like 6 miles or 7 or something like that. And I was beat. Yeah, I just barely made it back. It was an out and back, so we didn't have a choice to shortcut it. Anyway, like 2 days later, he says, hey, you want to go again? I said, well, I'm still alive. I made it. I feel okay. So I did it. And then we got like halfway out there and my knee started hurting.
Okay.
And it was like somebody stabbing my knee with a knife. And I made it back, although I should have just stopped and called my wife. But, I just felt like, I don't know why I didn't do that. I should have. So anyway, I had a limp for like the next 4 months for the whole summer. Because of that run.
People do like a couch to 5K, Jamie. It's not a good idea though.
No, it's a bad idea. So yeah, he's an extreme athlete. He's obviously doing something like this is just off the charts.
I'm gonna try to pull up his Instagram here and show it. Let's see if I can make that happen. I'm going to. I'll put you into a. I'm going to try to do a screen within a screen here and see if I can throw you up there as well. But
hey, you guys, while he's doing that, bear with us. But
there you are.
That's like 40 miles a day for
I thought it was like 50
months.
or 60 that he was doing. So it's maybe I don't know. Yeah, I mean if you do the math, I guess. But there it is. Yeah, that's his. Cool. This is his Instagram. So run across America. There's all this info on there. But yeah. It's a pretty cool story, pretty cool journey. I just wanted to share that because that was pretty neat to have, come through town last night. So
very good, very good.
But yeah, we're gonna, I think, get into this main topic here.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm happy to talk about the hand, of course. I call it, and I do a lot, and so this will be good.
Yeah, no, I mean, because we've had several, through Perkins Builder Brothers and Let Jaime Talk. There's a lot of your followers, fan club, community, whatever out there that have been in a similar situation.
Oh yeah.
And, I think, have the inspiration drawn from you, seeing you do what you do and be back at it, and with music, with working, with all those things. So, but I think there's still a lot of people out there with, when an accident does happen, there's like, all these questions. So I think we'd dive into that a little bit. But first I want to give people sort of a visual of like the workshop, and where it happened. Let's set the scene first before we talk about too many of the details. Okay. So, and I think you brought me some photos to share. So let me get that set up here real quick. And
you pull them up and then we'll do like a little virtual tour here of some of the stuff in the shop.
Yeah.
It's my home away from home. Oh, it's in my house. So it's at my home.
I'm gonna,
trust me, I'm actually trying to figure out a way to get my shop out of my house.
Really?
I am, dude. I am.
What are you out of your basement?
Out of my basement. Okay, so this wood shop here.
But what are you going to do with the wood shop? I mean, with that space down there.
All right, let me know when you get the pictures on the screen there.
Yeah, I will.
And before I start describing anything in the picture, because people will be like,
well, maybe give it just give an overview. How big is the space generally?
Right, so,
just the space that's actually the workshop.
Yeah, for sure. This
while Ben's doing it.
My workshop is 15 by 48.
Okay.
And that's about 700 something square feet. Is that right? I don't know. Brett's gonna do the math.
All right, there. I got a picture of it up, and I got you up there.
720.
Yeah, 720. So that's how big the shop is. 15 by 48. And actually, for something that's that rectangular in a long direction, it's actually super ideal. I mean, because it's like the shape of a board. And then I have about maybe 500 square feet of like wood storage space that is on the other side of the wall behind the joiner and the bandsaw. So I have everything I need down there, tools and lumber to make any kind of projects. So
yeah, and you guys have shot some videos and stuff down there on the Perkins Builder Brothers channel. So some people have probably seen this, but what are we looking at here? That bench has been there a long time. That bench has been there.
That is maybe one of the longest lasting pieces of the shop. So that's my little workbench, or a glue up bench, build it on it bench. It's got the big vise on the end.
What was that? A build it on it bench?
Bench. I just made that up. You probably can't tell, but I did just now.
All right.
Almost everything I make crosses that bench right there. And I made that myself, of course, as one of the first projects that I did in the shop. It's maple. And I drilled the holes and I put the vices on it, and you can put little things in the holes and use the vices for clamps for bigger flat things. But I have never done that. I just have never found that useful.
Okay.
But anyway, it's got a bunch of wood under it, all those strips of wood. Those are hard maple pieces that came out of a furniture factory that was closing down, and I knew a guy that worked there, and he had got a bunch of it, and I bought some pieces. Really, I use that for a giant weight. So my bench is super heavy. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't move around. I can beat and bang on it. And you can't even push that thing or pull it across the floor. I had to move it recently. You can see in the back, that back wall, the white wall with next to nothing on it there.
Yeah.
That's where my CNC was sitting. And it's not there now, as you can see.
It is not. Where did that go?
I went down the street to Ray's house, and Ray is gonna get it up and running. I mean, it works. There's nothing wrong with it, but he's gonna learn how it works. And he's very computer savvy. I think I've said that before.
Yeah.
And he can, running a CNC is all about understanding how you program it and telling it what to do. And while it is fun for me, I just don't think I'm gonna have the time to get super deep into the learning of it to like write G code and stuff to tell that machine exactly what to do.
That's weird that you wouldn't have time for such.
See.
All right, that's another cool table.
Oh yeah, so that is an unfinished downdraft table / extension outfeed table for the table saw. So those little square holes, by the way, I cut every little piece of that. There's little tiny blocks of wood, and I glued them, I epoxied them together and shot them in with a finished nail, and then put another strip in and then to repeat the process. The idea there is that you could sand boards on that table surface and have a vacuum, like my big, in the very back, that big yellow Oneida vacuum. They would suck all the dust down through the table. Mm-hmm. Although I don't like my design. This is terrible, but those holes are actually too big, those square holes. I thought they'd be better for airflow. But the problem is you could catch your finger in there and slide a board across the table and smash your finger. So I don't like that design. I think I need to... It's terrible because I spent so much effort on that one that I literally would just want to put a piece of pegboard on top of it. And I probably will. If I was smart, I would just go do that today. It's got adjustable feet on the bottom. Like I made I welded like flat brackets with a 3/4 all thread rod and a little foot on it so that I can adjust the, about 2 inches of adjustment in the table so that if the floor is uneven or something is not tippy.
Okay.
So I said that because if I add, a 1/4 inch plywood to the top or whatever, then I can lower it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can lower it down just a little bit to make it perfectly level.
A cool thing about Jamie's shop, and I think there's probably a lot of most wood shops, is that everything is the same height. All the surfaces. Mm-hmm. So if you're moving from one machine to the other, if you've got a board going from one machine to another.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super helpful.
Yes.
There's a good shot that shows my outfeed. So the Delta table saw, by the way, I always dreamed of a unisaw. Growing up, my stepdad, Bob, he has a unisaw in his guitar building shop. And it was always just like an amazing tool. It's like the foundational tool of a wood shop, the table saw is. Because you can do almost anything on a table saw. Cutting curves is not great, of course, but like... there's books about, I think it's Jim Toplin's table saw magic or something. Is that right, Brett? I ask him like he knows, but, if you want to learn how to maximize your, what you can do with any one tool, there's whole books about each tool that could tell you how to do like so many diverse tasks. So, but I love the table saw, and you can see my little outfeed downdraft table. And then, my workbench that's out there, the do it all, build it all on it bench. What I call it? I don't know.
I already forgot, but I liked it.
It was catchy.
The build it on it bench.
The build it on it bench. Mm-hmm. When I'm ripping really long material, like say 16 feet, you can run it all on out. And actually, I have a little piece of zip plywood. What an oxymoron. Zip OSB. That I put in between the two tables there, the two wood tables, to make one continuous outfeed table that's like, more than 12 feet long. Probably 7, 14. Yeah, almost 16 feet long outfeed table. Dang. So, because you want to focus on the material crossing the blade. As you're pushing a board through, you're focusing on keeping the board against the fence on your right there. And watching the blade and watching the board and watching the fence, and you're feeding a long board. And the longer it is, the harder it is because other things happen. So in order to be able to focus on that and not worry about, the board's falling or tipping, or now there's more weight past the saw and it's wanting to lift up and you're having to use extra pressure to hold it down. Those are all more danger, more things to keep up with. So I love a really long outfeed. And that's why my table saw is in the center of the shop, so I can run 16-foot material behind me. Mm-hmm. And pass it through the saw and have more than 16 feet on the other side of the saw. So that's why I think, like I said, a really rectangular shop or just a really huge shop, that'd be great, but I don't have one of those, is really ideal. It's actually really great.
That is, especially if you're able to cut those things by yourself, long boards like that. I remember helping my dad, and I remember those moments of him yelling at me like, don't pull it,
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Just hold it up. Don't lift it too high. Oh, it's all those things of like when the person helping you is not helping.
That's, I would be more inclined to say, don't help me, please. I know what I'm doing by myself. Unless you have two highly experienced people, you can work together and use that thing where you communicate with your brains without talking, and you can do it together as if you're one person.
Yeah, telepathic, I believe.
So check out these. There's some maple boards there on the right. Those are hard maple boards. Mm-hmm. Those are the same boards that we used to make that shelf with for my son.
Okay.
And those boards right there are becoming a headboard that I'm building for a frame in this house, the Pine Cottage. Oh. And so that's going to be one of them. And I need to finish that one, maybe even today.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe today.
2 headboards. And you built those for the other rentals too. So
Yeah, all the other
it's a similar pattern.
Yeah, we're just we make as much stuff as we can, and
That's cool. So you're going to be using some of these.
well, yep, got my rack of clamps there. Yep, some of my favorite things there. A couple of K clamps and a couple of Jorgensen.
Yeah. Oh, I read a comment the other day that was on the Perkins Builder Brothers channel. It's like, man, you guys don't use clamps a lot to help hold things on the job site. But
Not on the job site. We don't. Screws kind of do the job most of the time. No, we do use clamps. We use bar clamps every now and then and do different things. But
then let's see, you've got, this is the think tank station with speakers.
There we go. So the computer I brought in, I had to buy a computer, the little Mac Mini there under my soundboard.
Oh yeah.
I bought that just to use on the CNC. And I thought, well, this is going to be silly having a computer in a wood shop, like it's going to get dust in it. And I guess it does, but it still works. I got a really old keyboard and a really old monitor and a couple of little studio monitors up there for sound. And then I think at some point we talked about subwoofers. And there's there's a little subwoofer down there on the bottom and a little.
There's also a microscope up there.
Yeah, believe it or not, I use that. It's not just for show.
Oh.
I mean, I'll tell you what I use it for. That was when you asked me what I use it for.
Sorry, I jumped over.
Well, this next picture is appropriate. It's for sharpening. So when I sharpen things,
okay.
I literally look at it in a microscope.
I thought you were going to say splinters.
Oh, no. Well, it could be good for that too, but it's not a really high-powered one, but it's just enough. So this is one of my favorite things, okay?
Okay.
So before you skip on too fast, this is my little sharpening station, and I love it. I just get some sort of great personal satisfaction out of making something very sharp. And maybe it's the fact that I know it's going to work really easily when I go to do a job, with a tool that's sharp.
Do you start left to right in this station here?
Yeah, you can. They're there for different things. All right. Well, I'll give you just a quick breakdown. All right. On the left, I got the Tormek. That's a T7. That's an old one. Well, it's old now, but it's still new to me. And that's for sharpening chisels and hand planes pretty much.
Okay.
And it's a water-cooled system, so no sparks. Metal never gets hot. You don't ever have to worry about taking the temper out of your metal. It's got all kinds of jigs and fixtures that go on that metal bar on the top of it, and the metal bar moves positions, vertical, horizontal. And you can... I sharpen drill bits on there too.
Okay.
And that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Cool. I love a good sharp drill bit. Don't you?
Yeah, I mean...
Especially when you know that you're the one that sharpened it. Satisfaction to the max. Okay. In the middle is just a regular bench grinder. I use that for roughing in really, really banged up chisels, that need a lot of material removed. And I keep a cup of water. See my little red Solo cup? That's not for drinking while I'm sharpening.
Okay.
That's for putting water in so that I can dip a chisel. Do you ever do that? If you're grinding on a chisel, it'll start getting hot. You need to dip it in cool water. You grind about 1-2 seconds, cool it, and it shouldn't go...
Right.
If it did, you already got it too hot.
Wow.
You don't want to get the metal too hot. It'll take the temper out of it. And then you can make it sharp still, but it'll get dull faster. It just makes the metal softer if you take the temper. All right. And then on the right is a really awesome machine. You got any guess about that? What that is? Go ahead. I wish Brett could see it.
Yeah.
Just real quick, Ben, you use a Tormek, right?
It is a Tormek.
So that Tormek hand sharpener is actually on the Perkins Builder Brothers page that you use.
Oh, good.
So people can see it.
Well, it is my favorite sharpening tool.
Yeah, and I have to say this is one of the first times we used a lot of visual cues in this podcast.
Yes.
So for any of those just listen to audio only, you might have to, if you want to see what we're talking about, might have to turn over to the YouTube channel to see the actual, or on Patreon.
Or you might just have an amazing imagination.
You could, yeah.
And you can visualize it. But yeah, so sorry to those people only listening. The pictures do help. And well, okay, you didn't guess what that is.
I did not. I don't know. It's laid out like a lathe, but it's not a lathe.
Yeah, it kind of does look like a little lathe. It's a sharpening machine for planer blades or jointer blades, standard jointer blades.
Lawnmower blades?
You could. Yeah, if you dare. If you dare. Actually, that probably would work pretty good. But anyway,
I'll bring you some.
That's a pretty coarse. That's a pretty coarse grit. It really takes the material off fast. Lots of sparks, lots of noise. And actually, the number one thing I use that for is sharpening those 3-inch long blades that are in my portable electric hand plane. I have a little DeWalt one, and I didn't get the one that has disposable knives,
Yeah.
like the little carbide ones.
Gotcha.
Almost now, this drives me crazy, man. Almost all of the like handheld portable planers now have little thin, super small carbide blades.
Mm-hmm.
They cut great. There's no complaint there, and I'm sure they last a long time as long as you don't hit a nail. But the thing with carbide is brittle.
Okay.
Carbide's brittle. It's really sharp. It's really hard. And so what happens if you hit a nail? A lot of times they'll break. The little carbide blades, they'll just break into little pieces, and then they'll fall out. Or they don't fall out. They're kind of captured in there in a really good way. But you have to just replace them. Now, I like the thicker, older design that is like a steel blade that you can take out and resharpen. Because like if you're framing and you're using this plane every day, like building a deck and shaving off like pressure treated joists and whatever, you're gonna dull it some every day. And so if we're using it constantly at work, I sharpen the blades every day.
Really?
Every day. I go
Like
home
in the morning or in the evening?
A lot of times in the morning, because by the evening I'm like, I'm done. So in the morning, I'll grab some coffee, shoot down there. I'm really good at taking it apart and putting it back together now. I'm like a NASCAR pit crew on that thing. Yeah, done.
Yeah,
that fast. It's already sharp.
man.
Yeah.
You use an air gun on that?
Yeah, I do. I have one. I know I don't use it on that yet, but now that you're giving me some ideas. So anyway, I don't know, that may be a stretch. There's no greater joy than using a sharp hand plane, I was going to say. But especially an electric one, wow, the power, you just shavings going everywhere.
You want to do a tangent? Have we talked about the fact of why you're obsessed with sharp things?
No, I don't think so.
Like when you were a kid, you've told me this story before, working in Bob's workshop, right? And he would either give you dull tools or something, and it would drive you like
dull sandpaper.
Dull sandpaper. That's what it was.
Yeah. So Bob, I learned probably my sharpening fetish. Thanks, Bob, from him because he's doing fine woodworking in a shop, building instruments like I said, like guitars, mandolins, dulcimers, Irish instruments, bouzouki's, saturns, mandocellos, some things a lot of people never heard of.
Yeah.
Fixing and repairing all types of string instruments. So when you're carving on a $10,000 guitar, on the back of a arch top or something, and you're using hand tools that are cutting curly maple or some other hardwood, or you need sharp tools. And so I definitely learned keeping my tools sharp, and also not just for the ease of use, not just for the enjoyment, but also for safety, if you can believe that. Because a sharp tool will cut easily with less effort. And there you go. Hey.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Don't. Yeah, I'll get to it in a second. I have some
Okay.
screens, but I'll show it in a minute.
Okay. See, I can't tell what Ben's actually putting on the real thing for people to see.
It's just on you right now.
Okay. All right. So I learned that keeping stuff sharp is highest priority. And also blades in a saw. Look, some people will run a blade in a skill saw or a table saw until smoke is coming off of there. Have you ever tried to cut with a super dull blade? Here's how you know if a blade is dull on a table saw. I'll use this as an example. You can transfer it to any other thing.
Okay.
All right. If you're cutting through any material that has knots in it, and you get to the knot and the wood pushes up off the table because the blade is not slicing it and pulling it down. The blade design on table saw, the blade pulls the board into the table.
Yes.
Downward. Okay. If the blade is pushing your wood up out of the blade and off the table, your blade is dull. It should have what I call tack, right?
Okay.
You know what tack is in a blade? It's just the sharpness that I actually do a thing. My wife hates it, but I'll take a knife and I'll test it against my thumbnail at an angle and see if it catches. If it slides off your thumbnail, it's dull.
Okay.
And if it sticks, like with zero effort, you're not pushing, trying to cut yourself. You just barely touch the blade to your thumbnail or something.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the only one I got over here.
You don't do the arm hair thing.
I have done that, shaved my arm a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how you know it's sharp.
Are you supposed to do it with the flow of your hair or
I
against?
don't know. I was never good at shaving. I have to use an electric razor because I'm so terrible at using a regular one.
Mm-hmm.
Just cut myself all to pieces.
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand.
I would not.
Beard gay.
Yeah, you also have almost no facial hair at 40s something.
Yeah, your beard wouldn't look great, I don't think.
I appreciate that, and I think you're right, sadly.
All right, I'm gonna throw this up. What you got excited about there? All right, there it is.
Okay.
All right.
So that's on now.
Yep.
Oh, right.
So
Super.
This is, I saw this. This is relatively new. This is Bob's website.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's been up a long time. I feel like I just saw something
Some
that was
Clara
like
walnut. There's some cedar.
that Bob's instrument website is up here. So
Yeah.
there he is.
Oh yeah, there's a picture of him. Super. Yeah. So I talk about this stuff a lot with people, and they don't understand what. I mean, if you've never been in a wood shop, a professional wood shop, and if you've never been in one that makes something like what Bob does for guitars and other instruments here. It's a level of precision that it's almost hard to describe. And I mean, the level of the quality of finishes, the amount of hand work and just attention to detail that goes into every inch of an instrument is, I mean, you almost have to do it or see it yourself to really, truly understand it and appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just the small, joints, small details, all done to perfection. I mean, it's really incredible. So
does he still go to Merle Fest and like sell instruments?
not really anymore to Merle Fest.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to Merle Fest with him, and they would set up, and have instruments for people to play and to buy, of course. I don't know what happened with Merle Fest, but
Gotcha.
he sells, to customers direct, and most of them are custom built. You would go and say, hey, I want a guitar that is made of this kind of wood, or it sounds like this, or it has got, he does a lot of intricate work on the fretboards a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
where, you can, fret markers, they're called. But, he might put a design of horses galloping down the fingerboard out of mother of pearl, or some other kind of abalone, or some other, there we go. There's
This
a,
is his,
there's
yeah,
one.
there it is. Yeah. I was gonna say.
So, he does really great inlay work, and really customizes the instrument to the person's liking, and
Mm-hmm.
and people put special things on there to them a lot of times, something that is special to them. So it's a very personalized
Yeah.
build. It's almost like building a custom house for somebody, except it's it's an instrument.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to
And-
catch flack for not showing your mom's website, but we'll do that another day. We'll do that
too. So yeah, if people don't know, my mom also is a crafter, but it's way beyond that. That doesn't even, I shouldn't even say that, but she is a silversmith jeweler, and she has the Allison Granat gemstone jewelry. So I grew up, I mean, people wonder about, what I do sometimes. And it's really from me growing up in a house where I was around this kind of thing all the time, like making things by hand,
Right.
and having great attention to detail, and doing things that take a long time with your hands, and also being self-employed. My parents were for the most part self-employed and entrepreneurs, and very skilled craftspeople. And there we go. Is that on the screen?
It is. Yeah.
All right, yeah, there's a beautiful necklace, and
She
and
does
some other things,
all
earrings,
kinds of cool silver
pendants,
seals. And she's
bracelets.
Does she still do farmers market stuff?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I know she's sold in several shops
There you go.
around
Mhm.
the country.
Yeah.
For sure. But
When I was little, there's a picture of her.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom. Love
there's
you.
mom.
When I was little, she would be making earrings and things like that in the living room sometimes, and she'd be like, all right, here, bead these earrings on this piece of wire with this pattern, and do this many of them. And
Right.
so I would, do, and I thought it was fun when I was a kid or whatever. And she goes to these giant, jewelry shows,
Right.
where you can buy all kinds of stones and materials, we'll call it, for jewelry making. I don't know what these things are called. They're over by Franklin. I'm sure you've seen it. Going down Cowie Mountain on the backside on the left, when you about get down to the bottom before the Ford dealer, there's this giant parking lot. I think it's I think the police use it for like driving, learning to drive patrol cars and stuff. But like once a year, they set up this huge tent. This aluminum tent with have you seen it?
Yeah.
And when I say huge tent, I don't think you. I mean,
Looks like a circus.
It's
rolled into
so
town.
big. I mean, this tent is probably like 100 and something feet wide and like 600 feet long. I mean, it's incredibly. It's like going inside a shopping mall, but you're in a tent.
Right.
It's unreal, and they have things from all over the world. We're really getting sidetracked now, but at any rate, it's really cool. You'll see stuff in there that you're like, what even is this? I don't even know. But they have tons of beautiful stones and jewelry related things.
That was a little side tangent, but
There you go.
I knew I had to. I know I had to show Allison's website.
Okay,
after
well,
I
thank
did
you for
Bob's.
doing that, Ben.
I didn't. We're not going to do anything for anybody else.
Okay, great. All right. Yes. Well, like I said, I always love to give credit and thank them for instilling in me the skills and the craft talent that I grew up with, and it's because of them.
Yeah. So, let's talk about this big guy here.
Oh boy, my little jet planer. Well, it's 20 inches wide. Each of these tools, I gotta say, each of these tools is kind of special to me. Because these are the tools that I use currently now in what I would hope or think to be my prime of building things. You know what I mean?
Right.
I tell my wife I'm in my prime all the time. You know. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if she believes me. Yeah. You good back there? You need some tea?
Sorry.
This jet planer, it just eats wood like unbelievable. And I used to use a little DeWalt planer, a job site planer. I still have it, actually. It's underneath my table saw. It's probably in the other picture.
Yeah, you probably got that like 2017. Right about when we did the first farmhouse.
Yeah,
like you needed it. We had boards that were too big for the DeWalt.
The first time I needed one, I'm like, well, I got to buy one. So this planer has changed the way I can do woodworking because it can chew off 1/8 of an inch off of a 10-inch wide board. You go 20, you better not go 1/8 of an inch. You better go 1/16. But it can just totally eat material and is an industrial grade. At least for a home shop, industrial level.
And man, is it heavy.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. It's on a cart right there. See the little cart with wheels?
Yeah.
The reason I did that, 2 reasons. Obviously, to be able to move it around. But the other reason is so that the table height of it, the infeed table, that cast iron part, is close to level with my table saw. Mm-hmm. Now, that table goes up and down. Okay, so when you adjust the thickness of the machine to different board thicknesses, the top of the machine is stationary and the table part goes up and down, right? So because of that, you have a variable in the table height, but I optimized it to be within, for a 1-inch or a 2-inch board to be pretty much lined up with a table saw. Okay. So that I can, if I'm planing a really long board, the back of the board can be on the table saw and be relatively flat going into the infeed side of the planer. And also, there's a position where I usually leave it, but if I need to run a really long board, say a 16-foot board, I need to pull it back a little bit and so that the outfeed side of it can be 16 feet away from the wall.
Sounds like you've thought a lot about this.
Definitely.
Has it changed over time?
Yeah.
Or did you have it all planned out?
I mean, the general layout has stayed the same.
Yeah.
But I got to say, if anybody can leave a comment in the video, if you have run a table or run a board through a planer and it went out the backside and hit something before it was done going through the planer, and it'll do something bad. It'll shove your planer backwards, or something will give. Something's going to give, or it'll just stop and burn a hole in your board.
Right.
But that has happened to me, and I'm like, what do I do? You don't know what to do. You're kind of just stuck. Like it's happening in front of you, and you can't figure out what to do. Yeah. Okay, that's it for the planer.
Well,
love that thing.
What about this guy here?
Oh, the thickness sander. I think it may have another word, a drum sander. That's a great tool for really just smoothing, things that are like tables that I make. I call them cookie tables. The end of a log cut off into round piece. Mm-hmm. I use those for flattening those and smoothing stuff. I got that really because Bob has one in his shop, and all the material that you would build an instrument with needs to be precision thicknessed. Mm-hmm. Okay, like the tops and the backs and sides and the bracing and all this stuff, and so you can also sand things. A thickness sander, you would call it. Also, you can sand things down to a really thin dimension where if you try to do that in a planer, the planer might just suck it up and shoot it out in splinters at you.
Gotcha.
So this is a really safe, slow way to take material down just so finitely. You can take a 0.5 off or 1,000th at a pass if you literally are checking it with a caliper or a gauge or something. So that's a great tool.
And then you got this big old guy right there.
This is my dream bandsaw, and some of my dreams have finally come true. And,
I was say that's not as old as some of your other equipment there.
No, that one is. I actually bet that is the newest big tool that I have, and it's probably 5 years old at least now. And that's been a game changer. Game changer. You know, sometimes when you think, oh, I don't know if I should spend the money on a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was about a $4,000 saw. And you think, oh gosh, that's a lot of money. I don't know. I don't need the stupid saw. I'll just use my old saw. And I don't know if there's a picture of my old table saw or bandsaw in there. I still have it. It's green. Anyway, this is a game changer. If you're on the fence about buying a bigger bandsaw and you think you need one, you definitely need one. This is a carbide blade in it, and it cuts like butter, and it'll cut up to 16 inches tall. I've done so many look on the floor. I hate it for people that are just listening. I'm so sorry. But I took a subwoofer from a home stereo. It was a sound bar, a subwoofer for a sound bar. And I cut the box all to pieces, and I used it was like a 8 or 10 inch woofer in the box, and I made it into a floor standing sub kick microphone for my drum set.
Yeah.
And you can, wire that up and use a speaker like a microphone, because microphones are like little speakers.
I don't have the other table saw, but
no, it's okay.
It's funny. You talk about that like you're sponsored by them, but you're not.
I love what I love. What can I say?
Yeah. You got this shot here.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the joiner. I took more pictures of the joiner because the whole hand thing, was a joiner accident. And
is this attached to that piece, the joiner?
The rollers,
it is. There it is.
Yeah,
I was like, there it is.
Semi-attached. Anyway,
yeah.
The joiner is one of the most amazing tools.
Okay.
And it's a necessity. Okay, in a wood shop for anybody doing precision kind of work. Where you want a flat board. Okay, so the joiner, what's funny? I'll tell you what's funny.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Whenever people see that my hand is, I'm wearing this thing and people don't know me or they don't know what happened or anything. First of all, a lot of people ask me if I was in the military. And my answer is no, of course. I never have been in the service. But so there's that question. And then I get asked, was it a table saw?
Right.
I'm like, no, it wasn't a table saw. It's a different tool called a joiner. And then I get the blank look, like people don't know like what a joiner is, and it's because it's not like a table saw or a bandsaw, like where people that are not in woodworking wouldn't know what it is. But it's a really important tool. It's made for taking irregular surfaces and making them flat, know? So, the word flat, like this table's flat, but it actually is flat. Like it's true and it doesn't have any shape to it. It's actually a plane,
Yeah.
Right. All right. So a rough cut board that you're going to make into something nice, like those boards on the table saw that we talked about for the bed frame. Those were rough boards that were cupped, bowed, twisted. You can't make something flat out of cupped, bowed, twisted boards, right? Mm-hmm. And so you need to establish a flat surface on a board first. That's the tool for it. You lay that thing on there, you shove it through the machine, that cuts one flat side onto the board, and then you can run it through the planer, and then you can transfer the flatness that you achieved on the joiner to the other side of the board. Then you have two parallel flat surfaces, and then you can go on from there and process your board.
Yeah, I'm going to show some other shots of the joiner here.
Yeah, it's a close call.
Yeah, almost spilled my coffee.
It's an amazing tool. Now, this is a Powermatic brand, and it's really old. Actually, this thing, you may remember this, Ben. There was a frame shop, like picture framing shop in town.
That's
a long time ago.
That's where the market and bakery is.
Yeah, where the BCO market is.
No faux pas.
No faux pas. Wow, there it is. Mm-hmm. All right, so this machine was in that shop. It was in your shop.
Sure enough. Look at that.
What?
That's where the market and bakery is.
Kind of coming full circle here or something like that. All right, so apparently that place caught on fire. Did you ever hear about that?
Did. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't know what happened.
We uncovered it.
Or
the remnants.
The charred ceiling is still there.
Really?
Which is part of the reason we painted the bakery ceiling black. Because we had they was spray foam insulated.
Okay.
And then we just went and painted it black. The whole thing.
Because
you can still, if you go back towards the bathrooms and look up, you can see the joists that look like charcoal.
Still charred.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
And a lot of it was like underneath the kitchen drywall now, like the bakery kitchen. You can't see that part.
That's called shugibon. What is it called?
Oh, yeah, when you're finishing wood that way.
I don't know. I really botched it, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, the joiner was in that shop.
Okay.
I guess it burned and they closed down.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Homer King, maybe bought more than just this machine out of there. He got a bunch of machines. He sat this thing out in the yard at his wood shop for probably 10 years. And, it was all like locked up and rusted and terrible. So I bought it. It was the year that I got married, actually, that I got this machine, 2006, 2007 maybe is when I bought it. And I totally took it apart, stripped it down to bare metal, sandblasted it, put a new motor in it, refurbished it. And now it's working great. So,
and was this like the shop setup was like this during the accident?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You haven't moved anything. So you can see the joiner over to the left. You got the table saw there in the middle.
Yes.
The planer's on down.
Yep.
Is that the planer? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the general setup. So I want to set that that scene for people can't see it. I mean, decent sized long room, big joiner over your left. It's probably about 6 feet wide, the joiner?
Well, let me tell you let me tell you about that real quick. Okay, so the joiner as it came was like 5 feet long. The in-feed and out-feed tables combined, the total length was about 5 feet. And at some time, I having the same problem like I was telling you about with the table saw, boards tipping off the end, when you push a long board through.
Yep.
That was really driving me nuts. I was ticked off about it. I was like, this is making my job so hard. And so I extended the in-feed and out-feed tables on there. They're painted too. They look, well, I wouldn't say they look factory. They look like they could be factory. But
I see.
Yeah, they look like
Anyway,
they look like they're factory
I
extensions.
bolted on an extra 2 feet on the front and on the back. There you can see it. There's the little brackets I
right there
had to. Now I gave up my rabbiting ledge by doing that. If somebody might notice and be very particular about that, but I've never used the joiner for that, so I don't care. But yeah, so extending the in-feed and out-feed tables was a game changer. I mean, I felt like I had a mega machine after that, and then I added the rollers on the in-feed side. So if I'm putting a 10-foot board through there, I literally just slap it down on the table. And it's like it's so difficult. Yeah, there's the rollers.
Yeah, so you can see that
it's so
whole
difficult
long
holding
run right
the board flat on the table when it's trying to tip down. So now all I have to do is slap it down there and shove it through the machine. And I use a stick now or a board to shove stuff through.
Right.
I'm a little more cautious after I stuck my hand in that thing, but yeah. So I mean, I can go ahead and we can kind of get onto the story here.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're gonna take just a quick break, real quick, and then we're gonna come back and get into the nitty gritty.
Sounds good.
All right. Give me 1 second here. My bladder needs it, man. All right, we're back now. Thank you for that.
Little break doesn't hurt, although I am out of tea.
I'm sorry.
And that's where my caffeine comes from.
That's not as big a cup as you normally bring.
Well, do you want to know why?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens is I make coffee or tea. It goes with me to work. It goes in my truck. When I come home, a lot of times it doesn't go back in the house. It goes in the shop because I'm like moving stuff in and out of my truck every day, like trying to get my tools and things ready for the day. And I end up throwing everything out that's not a tool that I need for that day. And I have about 15 or 20 coffee mugs in my, not this shop, but the other one.
You got to bring one of these full of tea.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you
That's
need.
a big boy. That's a big boy cup right there. That's a man's cup. Oh, Brett's got.
That's how I keep.
I'm getting up.
That's how I keep refilling my coffee over here. I got my jug, my
good.
juggo.
Is that what that's for? You got a whole jug of coffee.
It is. It's double wall, so it keeps it warm. Double wall insulated over here.
I feel like I need to up my intake after seeing how much you're drinking.
Yeah. Well,
Ben's a real man though. He drinks black coffee.
Oh, whatever.
Jamie and I are both tan coffee drinkers.
All right.
That's right.
So let's talk about the accident.
Okay, that sounds so
as
fun.
it's termed, titled the
yeah,
accident.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to word it, but I don't. That's usually what I say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not what. Tell me, do you remember when this happened?
Yeah, it was in 2020, which it was in April of 2020. An average Tuesday morning, and I'm going to describe an average morning for me at that time. Brett and I are working on one of our rental houses that we're renovating. And I work a full-time job. He has, I don't know what he does, but he said he had a job, but I don't know if he did or not.
Man, I just get a bunch of flack.
So in an effort not to spend more time working on this project, like on the weekends, we decided that we would work in the mornings before work.
Okay.
And this was normal for us.
Yeah, this was the norm. We had already done a whole renovation that was over a year long with this method, where we work
450 days or something.
Yeah.
Of 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Now, would I recommend this? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, and Brett's shaking his head too. So imagine this for at least say a year. You work from 6:30 to 8 on a side project in the morning.
Yeah.
And then you clean yourself up a little bit and you refocus and you go do your real job for the whole day. And then you do that 5 days a week. And then on Saturdays, work 8 to 12 on your side project. I did that. Now we did one that way, and then this was the second one, or really truly the third, because we had kind of squeezed in the little brick building where Ashley's art studio is. We did that, and that was, that happened too. So we were in the habit of doing this, like getting up early, working, doing construction stuff. I mean, I would be up in the dark with a headlamp on $2 a scaffold, nailing siding on the side of a house. I'm like, are we crazy? And I think the answer is yes.
I think I joked during the first one that we saw over a year's sunrises together.
Yep. Pretty romantic for a couple of dudes. Sorry, honey.
Cute.
Sorry, honey.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so
Can you say the same for your wife?
Yeah. No. I try my best not to wake her up. She's got a full day every day, keeping the kids, doing all their stuff. But so, I mean, this is what we did to try to get ahead. I mean, I call it a side hustle or whatever, but it's something that there's no other time to fit this in.
Yeah.
Right. There's just no conceivable other time. And so total too, by the way, all the time that we did that, I would say it neared like a 5-year span. I would say total about a 5-year span of doing this. And so,
oh, wow.
Maybe not quite that long, maybe, but
no,
there was some gaps.
2015, 2016 to 2020 till the accident.
I mean, there was some gaps here and there, but so imagine doing that for 5 years. That's what we're looking at. So I get up early, Brett does. We meet on this particular day down in my shop because we had some wood to process. Okay. So that's what we're doing. We're processing maple boards because that's what I had a lot of. And I still using it. Same pile of wood. We were making window frames, window trims, I guess, for the outside of the old windows that were in this house and mimicking like 100-year-old window frame appearance.
Yeah,
right?
the casing.
The casing. Yeah. That was it the outside? I think it was. Or was it the inside?
No, it was we were putting together, we had just put together like one or two. You, me, and Eric put one in.
Oh, yeah. We did test kind of.
We tested it to make sure it worked.
Well, whether it was the inside or the outside, I can't remember.
It doesn't matter.
They look about the same. And so we had boards that were, 3 to 5 feet long. We were running through the joiner to get one side flat, like I talked about earlier, and then running through the planer to thickness them down and make both sides flat. And we were only, processing a handful of material, maybe for one window frame. And so the process goes like this. You run it through the joiner, you set it on the table saw or something else nearby, and then you run it through the planer. And repeat. I mean, it's a very repetitive process.
Yeah. So you were standing down at the front end of the joiner here?
Well, so here's what happened. And the real reason that I stuck my hand in this, just to be clear, is that the guard, the red part, in again, for people only listening, there's a guard on the machine that is spring loaded that will auto retract and cover the cutter head, I call it.
Yeah.
And this cutter head, by the way, is like a bird Shelix head, and it has carbide inserts. It's like a spiral. So yeah, the safety guard is what it says it is. Where that little black knob is on the right side of it, there's a spring in there, and you can adjust the spring tension to how hard it closes and how tightly or how quick it closes and all that. So I had the safety spring in that guard basically disabled. And so that the guard is free floating. You can close it, or you can pull it open and leave it open, because there were certain times when I wanted it just to stay open while I was using the machine. And so because of that, it didn't close after it got done being used. Brett had used it and I had used it.
And boards go from left to right.
Yeah, on the picture, right to left.
Right to left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in that picture, yep.
Okay.
And actually that safety off button, you see that big red off button on above the machine there? That actually I changed the switch. So the way it looks right now, the switch is down on the body of the machine on the part that supports the machine there. Those were the on-off switches. And you can see Also, I'm going to point out right above the machine on the wall, right behind it, within reach, is the switch and the outlet where it's plugged into the wall. Yep. And I did all that. I wired all that up and stuff like that. So it's a 220 machine. All right. So
and Jamie was feeding and I was receiving the boards basically.
Yeah. So we had run boards through the jointer and shut it off. Okay. This is what's crazy. Okay. It's stupid, really, if you think about it. What I'm going to tell you.
Okay. Perfect.
I mean, it literally is. It's a freak accident. That's it.
Yeah.
It's what happens in a shop.
And, people say, oh, you're too comfortable or whatever. And yeah, probably. I mean, I'm very comfortable. I think you need to be comfortable running a machine. Or if you're uncomfortable running a machine, you shouldn't be running it, I believe. So if you're comfortable with it, maybe that's good. But then if you're too comfortable, then what? Hey, these are levels of comfort we can't even figure out.
Right.
All right. So we had used the joiner.
Okay.
It got turned off.
Okay.
But did it stop the instant it got turned off? No. Because it's a big, heavy thing with a 2 horsepower motor, a bunch of big, heavy metal parts. And it takes, I don't know, I should time it. I never have, to see how long it takes to spin down.
Right.
There's no brakes. Okay.
Slow this thing down right here.
Now, yeah, exactly. There's the cutter head. Now, unlike the bandsaw, that big bandsaw that I was so happy about, it has a brake, a foot pedal. It's got brakes like a car. Gotcha. I mean, inside there, literally. So you can, because the blade is so exposed and dangerous on a bandsaw. You shut the thing off, you hit the foot brake. Actually, the foot brake has a switch in it. So to turn it off, you can do it hands-free. You press the brake, stops the motor, and you're literally using brake pads to stop the machine from moving. Okay.
Do they make joiners like that too?
I don't think so, although it'd be a great thing. If it, I mean, I bet newer ones now may have some, quicker stopping, like motor stuff they can do electronically.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't. This thing just spins for a while. And so it's sort of like the guard is there. I took this picture this morning and, I swung the guard open and I swung it open farther than I would normally ever use the machine like that. But, okay. So after the machine got shut off, the guard was still open because I wasn't paying attention. And we began feeding boards through that big white jet planer right away. I mean, we're like bang, bang, boom, bing, bop, boom. What's the song?
Yeah.
I hear that song all the time. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know what I know.
That's how we work in the shop. All right. We were doing it, getting it done. I hadn't even drank my coffee yet. My coffee was sitting on the shelf right there. That was probably the problem. So I just very quickly from one machine to the next, I'm shoving a board through the planer. Brett's on the outfeed side of the planer, catching the board, and he's setting boards back on the rollers of the joiner infeed, right? And then I just grab them. We're cycling boards through the machine and trying to be quick and efficient,
Yeah.
8 o'clock's coming soon. I gotta go to work. And so without knowing that the guard was open, and of course I have eye protection, safety glasses. I have ear protection. I'm wearing, over the ear style headphone style earmuffs. And, there's machines and the vacuum is running, there's like a 3 horsepower vacuum system, it makes, a pretty good noise. And each of these machines also 2 or 3 horsepower each. I think the planer is 5 horsepower actually.
Yeah, the planer is pretty loud.
It makes a lot of noise, especially when a board's running through it.
Yeah,
I'm tempted to make the sound, but I won't. Oh, sorry.
Temptation.
Couldn't help it. So with all that going on, and the joiner spinning down all this while, I mean, we're talking a 30-second time period from maybe not.
No, it was less than that.
Maybe it could be even as low as 10 seconds.
It was me walking from one end to the other, you turning around, putting your hand down.
You walk across the room 10 feet and I'll time you. However long it takes you to walk 10 feet. That's how long it was. And I reached behind me. I was looking at the facing the planer. Okay, so the joiner was to my left side. And without even looking at the joiner, I reach over there to the joiner to pick up a board. Because that's where the boards were. We were putting the boards on the infeed table. I just reached over and I stuck my hand right into the exposed blade. I had no clue it was exposed. I had no clue that I reached way too far back because we don't set boards about to go into the blade of the other machine. I just wasn't paying attention, right?
Yeah.
I reached back way too far, but I stuck my hand straight into it, nevertheless. And, immediately was obviously terrified and surprised all at the same time. And just, my brain couldn't quite figure out what was happening quick enough. But as soon as I realized what did happen, I knew it was very bad, right? I mean, there was no...
Yeah, but if the machine would have been on...
Well, if the machine would have been on, I don't know what had happened. I don't know if it would have been way worse.
Yeah,
is what I think.
I'm just saying, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have necessarily changed what you did with your hand, but it would have changed.
I don't think so.
The ability for you. I mean, it wouldn't have jammed up.
No, yeah. So the blade actually, I stuck my hand in it, and the blade came to a stop with
Right.
my hand in it. So my hand stopped the blade. All
Yeah.
right, but that rotating mass right there. I mean, it must have been going pretty. I mean, I don't know how fast it was going, but
I think
if
Brett
you-
is getting sick over there
if
thinking
you-
about
I know,
this
Brett,
again.
I'm not
Yeah.
getting sick. It's just visually. It's,
Yeah.
well, I mean, you hate to think about it. Obviously, I don't like to think about it any more than anybody
Yeah.
else, but. And I'm sure some people listening have had some experiences maybe similar to this and probably reliving it in your mind here and not loving, having to relive it. But at any rate, I think the blade had almost stopped spinning.
Right.
It must have been very, very close to stopping spinning.
Right.
Now,
And just so everybody knows, we're not going to show any graphic images.
yeah, no,
or
I
anything
mean, call
like
me
that.
if you want. I'll send you some pictures. But
we're
no,
not.
don't
It's
do
just,
that.
We're
please.
just showing the equipment.
there are no pictures of.
No, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying. I
Other
don't want
than in
people
my-
to be
other
nervous
than
about
our-
what
in our heads.
photo's coming next.
Yeah, no,
there
it's okay.
there is no gory photo.
Yeah. So, my hand went in that thing and I was stuck in it. Okay. So
Mhm.
like my fingers kind of wrapped around the back side of the cutter. That'd be the right side of the cutter on the infeed side of the table. And I actually had to use my right hand to sort of spin the
Yeah, we had to back it.
the drum or the cylinder there with the cutters on it in reverse to get my hand out of there.
You had to roll
And,
it, roll your hand out.
What's crazy is that I'm gonna tell you something crazy here is that the second it happened, okay, bam, that was really bad. I saw that my wedding ring, which was a rubber, silicone ring,
Mm-hmm.
it had been cut and was laying there right beside my hand. I was like, oh no, that's pretty far. That's bad. And I immediately went to hit the stop button, on the machine, which was down below me, not that big red button on the top that I have now, but I reached down and was hitting the stop button repeatedly, quickly. And for some reason, when I did hit the stop button, like my hand didn't quit hurting. I was like, my brain couldn't figure it out. It was all happening so fast. And then also I reached up and I unplugged the plug out of the wall. Right. Now, what's scary to me, this is the worst thought I've had about this, is that if I had, in a panic, if I had accidentally restarted the machine, because the start and stop button are this far apart from each other and they look the same, they're both round.
Yep.
I painted over them, but they were red and green, of course, but they're not used anymore. So thank God I didn't actually restart the machine because that was totally possible until I unplugged it from the wall. So once the machine was unplugged, I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. Got myself out. And then I have a towel. I had a towel hanging on a little sink right there beside but beside the machine is just like 10 feet away. So I just wrapped up my hand with a towel. I didn't really look at it. I didn't want to look at it. Yep. Kind of held it tight like this. And then Brett was like, oh.
I mean, it was amazing. It wasn't a lot of blood. It was just it just looked crushed, mangled. I looked at it because I was trying to help you wrap your hand.
Yeah.
It just looked completely dismembered.
Yeah, that's a great.
But there wasn't blood. Thank God, because Jamie passes out at the sight of blood.
I do.
Oh,
I do.
Which
dude.
would have made this whole thing
He would have had to drag
way
me,
worse.
Drag me.
I
up
mean,
the
it was
hills.
already bad, but
Well, so and also, and people don't know this probably, but my shop in my basement in my house,
Yep.
where I was standing, is directly below my bedroom.
Okay.
And my wife was asleep in the bed. Well, I don't know if she was asleep or not because the machines, you got a 5 horsepower planer running right below your bed.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a thing. So thanks, honey, for
What does
putting
it sound like?
Well, it depends on how much wood you're taking off. It might not sound that bad if you're just taking a little bit.
Gotcha.
But at any rate, she must have heard me scream or something. I don't remember if I screamed or made a noise.
Oh, you screamed.
I'm sure I did. I would hate to, if I could, I would hate to be able to rehear it, whatever it was. But she heard it.
Yep.
She came running down really quick, of course, and was, like freaking out and surprised and like what is happening and trying to understand. But anyway, I told her, don't look. So we got it wrapped up and me and Brett, split. We hit the road, go to the hospital. Luckily, he was there to drive me to the hospital, which is right behind where we're sitting, of course, again.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, for people that don't know, calling 911 would have been pointless.
oh yeah, to sit there.
The
and wait on
hospital, and it's a small little rural hospital. It doesn't have all the services, but in my head, I'm like, just get him somewhere where it can somebody can handle stabilizing it, you know, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So we
And it's like
we got
5
there
minutes.
Yeah.
in a jiffy, before they put the new red light down. So we didn't even have to go through.
Right. 2-minute drive.
We got there quickly. They let me in quickly. And of course it's during COVID. So hospital stuff during COVID.
Right.
Everything's messed up.
Right.
Who knows? I don't even know. But anyway, they weren't even going to let my wife or any family members come in. But my wife knew the people. Like, we have personal friends in the hospital. They let her come in to the hospital to see me. And the first thing, of course, they roll me in. They got they assess. They know kind of roughly what happened, and they give me some morphine.
Yeah. Hold on.
And I was
I
like,
want to back up for a second. When we walked in there, they looked at us like, "Why are you bringing him in here? Like, this is COVID. You can't walk in here without a mask."
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't
and
even
Jamie
remember that.
sat down on the floor right in the door. He's like, basically, I think at that point he was starting to go, like, I'm not going to say you were going into shock, but like we had gone from his house to the car with just such adrenaline, like you're shaking and you're going through this traumatic experience. And when he walked in the doors at the hospital, he's like, "I got to sit down."
Yeah.
And he just sat down on the floor. And everybody's looking at me like, "What is happening? Why are you bringing him here? It's COVID. You can't come in here."
Yeah.
Like, it was a weird time to have to deal with an emergency.
Neither of us were wearing a mask.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I don't remember that part, Brett, but thank you.
It's all right.
So I guess eventually they got me into a bed and they got me the morphine pretty quick. From what I remember, pretty quickly. And the girl that came in to take an x-ray of my hand so they could just begin start figuring this thing out, was girl, Sarah is her name, pardon. And she's a good friend also of our family. So it was kind of like, she couldn't believe when she came around the corner into the room and it was me and we're friends. And it was tough. And I remember calling some of my family, my mom, my dad, when I'd first,
Oh, wow.
when I was in the hospital bed there, not long after it happened, telling them what happened. And I was bummed, of course. And, thinking of all the implications.
That's sort of what I was going is like, what was going through your mind?
Well, a lot. And I think in a moment like that, for anybody that has had a really unexpected traumatic something happen, whether it ended up being life-changing or not,
Yeah.
Like if you're in a car crash, you probably can't believe that you just were in a car crash.
Mm-hmm.
You just like can't even believe, or if you have an accident like this, you just can't even fathom, like all your normal daily thoughts go out the window and it's all this. It's just like super hyper focused on the thing that happened and trying to, figure out what it means for you going forward, in the future. And so, I mean, one of the worst things I'll say was thinking like playing guitar, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like my work life, I, eventually whatever came to, continue to be able to work, and I can still play, instruments too. So, but that was probably the thing that made me the saddest, I think, of all the things that could be taken away from me, that, and I don't mean like everything like my family or anything, but just like as far as, my capabilities or my abilities. That was probably the one that I knew was going to change in a really drastic way.
Yeah.
And, I've been able to relearn to play guitar left-handed now. I play a left-handed guitar and it doesn't always sound as good as I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like a beginner again. I'm having to relearn, things I already know and figure out how to make my brain, make my fingers do the thing I want it to do so I can hear a guitar chord the way I want it to be sounding. So, okay, we'll move on a little bit here. And I don't know how much, beyond this, we're going to go in great detail, but, cause that would take a long time.
Well, I mean, we'll I'll be a determining factor on that.
There'll be lots of time, other times too. So, I was in Bryson City at the local hospital there. They were going to fly me out actually to a hand surgeon somewhere, but they couldn't find any. Okay. COVID times, either there's a doctor and no bed, or there's a bed and there's no doctor in the hospitals and the places where they were going to try to send me. And they flew in the helicopter
from Knoxville, I think,
from somewhere. Yeah, I heard it land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They land right outside the ER, and I heard that stupid thing. I don't say stupid. I just mean it. I heard it land. I was like, oh man,
it was like Greenville or Knoxville were like the two options or something like that.
So, and I'm sure you hear it all the time. The helicopter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Over the house
you're,
all the
you're
time.
like right here. I mean, even where I live is 1 mile, from where we are now. I hear the helicopter listen, every day that I'm outside and I hear that helicopter land, I think the same thing again. Yeah. I think I'm sitting in that bed and I hear that helicopter. It has a very distinct sound. For whatever reason, that helicopter has a very unique sound.
Yeah, like a triggering sound for you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't flip out or anything, but it's a reminder.
I think my son might be a helicopter pilot one day because he when whoever hears it coming, man, he's going outside to check it out.
That'd be great.
So
that'd be great.
That'd be fun.
There's a lot of helicopter flying around here because there's no runways where we live.
Yeah. As long as he's got better eyesight than I do, I think that's one of those things for flying.
Oh yeah,
you got to have good eyes.
I guess that's important to be able to see where you're going. But they landed the helicopter. They were going to fly me out to a doctor somewhere, couldn't find one. And then in Silva, which is 30 minutes from here, drive, there was a Dr. Gates, Dr. Douglas Gates. And he ended up looking at the pictures of it and looking at the x-ray, and within a short time said, yes, I can do the surgery, and, send him over. And so I got...
Well, I think they not to put words in your mouth, but they had determined that through the x-rays and talking to people that you weren't going to be able to save your fingers at that point. This was not a salvage. This was we're not going to try to save his fingers, who can put it back together. Kind of thing.
So there's a difference and I've heard lots of stories. Lots of people have contacted me over the years and told me their stories or asked me, maybe they had an accident and, how do you move on or how do you, handle it? If there's an accident, maybe with a table saw and you can literally pick up your finger and take it to the hospital, they can put it back on a lot of times.
Right.
That doesn't mean you get full good functionality. I mean, I know people, I'm good friends with some people that have cut a few off and had them put back on and maybe they work pretty good and maybe they don't.
Gotcha.
Or maybe they get really cold or maybe you can't feel anything or maybe, so it's kind of like, that's a terrible thought. It's like, okay, well, what's better or worse? And not like it matters what I think is better or worse, but to get your fingers put back on and really not be able to use them or to not have them at all and be able to use a device or something like this, like I have,
right?
Which is really good. I mean, super functional for me. I wear it every day.
But we'll get to it, but there is a cost associated with that.
Oh yeah.
And not, and it's, I think that comes into play with a lot of people is the cost and how long does it last and, and all those things. So, and we'll try to talk about that a little bit later on. But I was saying when it comes to that decision, probably, of do I just get my fingers put back on or do I wait for a prosthetic? It's like,
wow, that'd be a really tough decision to make in that instant of the emergency situation, because I didn't have any thoughts about a prosthetic or what, like my brain or my thoughts about it. I didn't know anything about prosthetics at all. And I didn't know, but so my fingers, I did not carry my cut off fingers to the hospital in a bag and ask him to put them back. That wasn't a thing. My fingers, like Brett said, were pretty well, I hate to use the word mangled. That sounds terrible. I would say shredded is a good word. There's no there's no good words.
Made me feel a lot better.
There's no word I can say to describe it that you're going to say, oh, well, that's nice. Yeah. It's all terrible and whatever. That's what it is. So, but I am fortunate. I'm going to say this too. I mean, I'm super lucky in so many ways. I mean, first of all, the machine was off. Limited amount of bad what that happened. Could have been way worse. I still have my thumb. Hey,
thumbs up
on that. My pointer finger is the longest. It's my best finger on this hand. I call it. I can still do so much work and grip strength between my thumb and my pointer finger. That's incredible. And you add the device to that with the three. These are called MCP drivers, by the way.
Okay.
Named after the joint of the finger that is where your finger joins your hand. There, yeah. That's your MCP joint. That's what gives me the strength to operate the device. I have great functionality. I have high. I think I would consider it to be high, almost normal.
Oh yeah.
Nothing happened type functionality.
Right.
So I'm so fortunate. I'm so incredibly glad that I can still do what I do for work, and in my personal life as well. So with all that said, I don't feel like I got it that bad is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
And you don't want to compare yourself.
You feel like that now, maybe not so much.
I do now. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll go back and tell you some more stuff too about, what happened after I left Bryson Hospital. But looking at my life now, it is not greatly different than what it was before. Mm-hmm. It's really not. Now that does not mean it's not a big deal to me. And it doesn't mean that my whole life didn't get flipped upside down, and still is in some ways. But I do have a lot of gratitude though for what the position I'm in still. I'm very thankful I had so many people that supported me in the community and all of our YouTube community through the accident, and just an incredible amount of outpouring of help and support that got me through a really terrible time. So I'm forever grateful and thankful for that. And I feel like I'm in a good place now, with all things related. So, but yeah, I'll take you back to some of the events following that, just to kind of wrap up the hospital side of the story. Yeah. Yeah. So there was no reattachment. That's where we were at. No, not to say there wasn't a need for a hand specialist doctor, because they can like reattach your nerves and your blood vessels and all that stuff. And I'm sure that Dr. Gates can do that stuff too, but he does all kinds of incredible work. But anyway, they got me in for surgery. They got me, scheduled for that afternoon, and I met Dr. Gates, and he said, "Yep." And I said, "We're gonna do our best to preserve as much length of your fingers as possible." And he was a woodworker too. He had been a professional woodworker for like 10 years, put himself through med school being a professional woodworker. So I felt comforted that he understands me, at least on that basis of, hey, you know what my life is like in some way, being a woodworker, you're a woodworker, there's maybe a little bit of a...
What are the chances of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt pretty confident immediately in his abilities, It takes a pretty skilled person to pay for med school with a woodworking license. Yeah. So at any rate, they put me through the surgery, and I came out, all wrapped up, big old wrapped up thing. I didn't...
A club.
Yeah.
Big old club.
I didn't know. It looked like a meat stick, I never saw the hand, through this whole time. Yeah. Once I got to the hospital, I didn't look at it and see it. I didn't want to see it. And so they did the surgery. I was lucky, and also this way that the way that the clearance between the cutter head and the M-feed table left a bit of skin on the palm side of my fingers that was undamaged, or at least mostly. And they were able to wrap that, sort of flip it around, fold it around the end of my finger all the way across the back of my finger to cover it all.
Gotcha.
So the back side of my hand was more damaged than the front. And so that was great for me, because it was like a perfect covering there. So now when I look at the back of my fingers, a lot of people don't know this, but I see fingerprints on the back of my hand. It's pretty wicked.
That is.
Yeah, and it's so weird. Like if you touch that spot of my finger, it still feels like it's on the palm side of my hand.
Whoa.
Like it can't tell. It can't tell where it is. It thinks it is where it used to be. Huh. And it's not. So
do you suffer from phantom
pains? I get asked that a lot.
Or not pains, or even thinking that your fingers are there.
What do they call it? Phantom?
I think so.
Phantom pain, maybe? Phantom?
Yeah, well, I mean, Brett's not saying... He's saying that's not what he's talking about. But.
Well, yeah, basically...
I mean, just your brain thinks that your fingers are actually still there.
So every now and then, something like that will happen where I'll hit my finger on something, and it feels like I got like a splinter up my fingernail, but that part of my finger is not there anymore.
Oh, wow.
That kind of thing. I sort of joke. People say, "Do you have phantom pains?" I said, "No, I only have real pains." But that's just a joke. It's not a very good one either. I got lots of good jokes about the hand. I'll tell you them in a minute. But I have what I call just like strange sensations with the way that it feels when you touch it, versus you touch part of the back of my hand that never was affected, and then to the part that was, and then it's very strange. Feeling. It's almost like, that trick where you put your hands together and you tell someone to touch your finger and their finger at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the other night when I slept on my arm all funny and my hand went to sleep, but I'm talking totally to sleep. Right. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
I mean, I'm talking like I had to take this hand and like pick it up and move it, and I couldn't feel it at all.
Right.
And it was like grabbing someone else's hand.
Right.
But it was mine. Dude, it was weird. That was the worst I've ever had. That was like 2 nights ago. I literally wondered, I was going to call a doctor and be like, dude, what if you do that for too long? Like can you ever like hurt yourself? Like if you're hands asleep for too long?
I mean, it's a circulation thing.
I know, but
right?
what if it's really bad?
Yeah.
I don't know. We may never know. I'll ask my doctor today. I'm going to the doctor later. I think I said that, but about my voice,
Yes.
Same place.
Let's find out about sleeping on your arm.
I will. I'll ask. It's pretty pressing. So I came out of surgery and, I had a hospital room, a bed and a room and all that. Luckily they had the space for me and all that. But at that point though, my family was not allowed to come in. My wife, my parents or anybody, my kids. And, so, I was in there by myself. Luckily I had my phone, and I was calling everybody. I could talk to anybody. So that was okay. But I ended up, filming myself, cause I'm sitting there forever, like by myself. I'm like, well, I'm gonna talk to the camera because the YouTube channel and stuff. And so I kind of sort of self-documented my experience in the hospital and I guess I was on a lot of drugs because people said I looked like I was, and I guess I was.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I was.
Okay.
I felt totally normal. Have you ever been like on morphine a lot or anything? And I was asking for more because it was hurting bad. Like after surgery, people ask what's the most painful thing or whatever. And it wasn't the instant that it happened because like Brett said, it's kind of shock or whatever. And so you can kind of adrenaline and you can somehow deal with it,
Sort of after it's settled in.
But after surgery and after, a day or two, you're sitting there. Oh man, it was hurting bad. And I was like, did y'all give me my medicine yet? And they're like, we did. I was like, well, I'm going to need something else. I need some more. They're like, well, it's going to be like 2 or 3 hours and then we can give you another. And I'm like, oh man, dang, that seems like a long time. But anyway, that was a pretty painful period right there during,
obviously
post-surgery.
There's no comparison for anybody as to, that's the thing is like, there's nothing to compare to as to how bad it hurt,
I can say this. If you've ever slammed your hand in a car door, it feels like that. Yeah, but that kind of, if you
but it was constant.
Yeah, but if you didn't really hurt yourself, like break your fingers or anything, it'll go away in a little while. Well, this is just that, but constant, doesn't go away.
Right.
Or if you ever, stub your toe really bad on a door or something, or I don't know, it's not quite there, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's a very sharp, intense pain. But it was just ongoing. Truly the pain of it really probably lasted 2 or 3 weeks at least. Just constant, just not, didn't end.
After you were home with the club, and you had to hit that club, you kept up, right?
I held my hand up, yep.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks straight.
Just for pressure and things like that more so?
Like if blood was, I felt like it may throb, like when you hit your hit your thumb with a hammer, how it kind of throbs. I was really worried that was going to be super painful. I tell you what though, I was really scared to try to move my fingers. So like for the first 2 weeks, or maybe at least a week, maybe more. We'll call it 2. I didn't even make the first, not even the smallest attempt to move my fingers. I didn't want to because I thought this is going to hurt.
Gotcha.
I was in enough pain, I thought. And so I remember laying in bed, and I slept upstairs too for weeks at least. I slept by myself because I was afraid that I would roll over or my wife would roll over and bump my hand or something, or my kids would run and jump in the bed or something, weird.
And your youngest wasn't that old? Or was it?
No, Zoe, my daughter, was like 4 or 5 months old.
Right. Yeah, just born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
November, right?
Yeah.
So
she was born in November. Yeah. 6 months old. So
yeah.
Yeah. I was scared to get too close around her because she's just she could just, hit me and not even know it. And I would, be, well, anyway, that didn't really ever happen too much. But I remember the first time I was laying in bed and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to move my one finger. And I did a little bit. I was like, oh, well, that worked good. It didn't hurt, Oh, I'll try the other one. And then, went down the line and I was like, oh, okay, I can do a little,
I just more so referencing the fact that not, I can remember, when my kid was 4 or 5 months old, like just being there for my wife to help and, all those things. And then it's like, you're like, well, I'm down a whole limb, and I'm in pain, and it's like, we've got a new baby, and
I did get out of diaper changing on that one. I did, and with my boys, I changed a lot of diapers, and my wife did more, I'm sure, but I wasn't scared to change a diaper or whatever. Yeah. But this one, I totally got out of that for the most part.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Well, I'm just saying that probably that added to the stress of the whole situation.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, everything that my wife was doing, everything for everybody, and she never complained either, about anything. And so I'm thankful for that. And she, of course, took care of me, and everything that I needed, she would get from me or whatever, and encourage me and stuff. So, I sat around a lot for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
At home,
Yeah.
And, I had doctor visits. I would go in and they would check stuff out and send me back, and then go and have stitches taken out. There was about 60 stitches, turns out.
Okay.
In the 4 digits there. And, things were going good with that, and recovery was going good. And I was watching Harry Potter movies at home, because I was like, who has time to watch all the Harry Potter movies? And I had never seen them. I was like, what's the fuss about, And so I was like, well, I'm sitting here, I may as well just watch them all. So that's what I did.
Would have taken longer to read the books.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that. And Bob would come and pick me up, take me to all my appointments, so we could hang out and have some time together. So that was good. Then
just that whole healing process, took how long?
That's a long answer to a short question. From the initial surgery, it took a couple months to heal up and to say be recovered or something like that. Now at that point though, my fingers and the skin in between them was kind of webbed from the surgery. So I needed more surgeries. But also my ring finger had a pointed part of the bone that was sticking out a little bit.
Okay.
And so I called back to Alexis and Dr. Gates, and Alexis, is who I'm building the mega modern mansion for, we call it.
Okay.
So, along with Dr. Gates, Alexis was there, and, they co-performed the surgery, and, she was all my doctor visits that I would go back, and, they would both come in, and, they would each do different things.
So she is a surgeon as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I think she's a PA.
Okay. Gotcha.
And, so, it was great to get to know her and Dr. Gates both, and they were both, I feel like, just extremely top notch, and not just in their job, but and also in compassion and understanding, and kind of helping me through, taking in what my, what had happened, and how to move on and so on. They were great to answer my questions and things like that. So,
okay.
How long did you wear cause you went through kind of a couple different casts. I'll call them casts. I mean, they became more protective than anything else, right?
Right. Yeah. So there was the initial wrap, a giant club looking thing, almost like a cast. It looks like what you might imagine when you think of a cast, like when a kid breaks their arm or something. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't hard like that. It was just soft and wrapped up. So they changed that once a week for maybe 3 weeks. And then after that, I just had minimal kind of wrappings, bandages. And I had it was like a orthotics place that made a plastic. It was a specially molded thing to fit my hand. It was like a guard. Gotcha. And it strapped on like a Velcro, very much like this prosthetic. But I was actually able to start going back to work wearing that thing.
Okay.
And I didn't use my hand so much, but my wrist, I would pick up stuff or move stuff. I couldn't wait to get back on the job. Mm-hmm. You sit at home for 2 weeks, and you're used to doing stuff with your hands every day. It's hard to be at home doing nothing. So I felt like, I would just show up at work. I would get somebody to drive me around. I wasn't driving.
Yeah.
I could drive. But
I think you were working on the Parton build.
Yeah.
Right.
We were Pate House.
Yeah. The welding.
That's right.
The big rebar railing.
It was like a mountain scene.
Rebar
for a handrail. That was my next project.
Yeah,
and I was
huge.
excited
You've been talking about it for months.
Man, I was stoked to do this welding project, and then
Eric
I cut my
it.
fingers off. And so, well, anyway, they did it. They did a great job. They welded it all up, and it turned out beautiful. Actually,
yeah,
I didn't have to do it.
What was his name? Eric and
Chris Wiggins
was,
helping with the welding, and so that's cool. They did an excellent job, and I never have done one like that since, but maybe I will.
You never got to build it. It's beautiful though.
Yeah. So it took about a year, I'm going to say, to go through all the surgeries that I had. You know, it's kind of like surgery and then recover, surgery, recover, before the next one can happen. And then after about a year, I was able to start, doing the, considering the naked prosthetics, hand and things like that,
Okay.
And that's a whole story too.
That's what I want to say is like, this episode's went a little different than I thought. We talked a lot about the workshop and then we talked about the accident. So I think that's going to be a good episode to come towards an ending on here, because then I want to come back and do another episode where we dive more into the device itself and naked prosthetics and all the all the options they have, because I want to show off some of the different things they do, and there's a lot of different options with that, and I just think it'll be, if we keep going now, it'll be super super long, and I know you've got stuff to do, and
I've got
headboard to make.
My daughter's got her pre-K graduation ceremony that I'm going to be going to soon. I got a doctor's appointment,
That's right.
But I think there's so much to say about the device.
Yep.
That I think, it deserves, a really good long.
Yeah, because I've got lots of questions about just, pros and cons, things you like, things you don't like, just to try to help people that are maybe thinking about, doing the same sort of thing. Costs.
Sure.
How long does it last? All that stuff. So we'll dive into all those details.
Okay.
Later. I really got to stop saying dive in.
Really?
You would think I'm a swimmer or something. I say dive in a lot.
I don't know. I hadn't noticed, but
now you will.
Well, I got to be careful too. There's certain words I might repeat a lot, and I think one episode I used the word terrible like 55 times.
You say it a little different.
Terrible.
You put that
like maternal.
Maternal. That's my special word. I don't know why everybody's hung up about that. Maternal.
Yeah. Well, one fun thing I do want to end on here to wrap up is the during this last Perkins Brothers episode, you mentioned the dump.
Yeah.
What is the dump?
The dump. I don't. I've been going to the same place for my whole life, and I just call it the dump.
Yeah.
The dump is where you take your trash.
Right.
Okay. If you just have bagged trash, household trash, where we live. There's a small area in the city where you might have a city trash truck come pick your trash up. But if you live outside of that, which most of our county is not like city, you have to take your own trash to the dump.
The dump.
And
that's what I call it as well.
When I was growing up, though, we called it the green cans. Okay,
yeah, I've heard that too.
And people say the green cans. That's what
But that used to be when there was like 50 green cans lining the.
Now, for people that don't know, the green can is a giant square metal dumpster box. It's like 8 feet high and 8 feet wide, and it's a big square. And you just chuck your trash bags into it. And then they come with the big dumpster picker-upper truck that picks up that big box and lifts it over top of the truck and shakes it and dumps all the trash into the compactor truck. Well, that's what it was like growing up, but now they've changed it a little bit. But when I talk about the dump at work or at Perkins Builder Brothers, I'm talking about the construction.
You're talking about the transfer station.
The transfer station.
Yes.
And or also I've heard it called the recycle center. So I take scrap metal there and dump it there, but they take it and recycle it. But all of the construction waste, and unfortunately, construction does produce waste, and they we load it in a dump trailer on the job site, and then I take it, and then we weigh in on a big scale. And when I say a scale, it's like a road, it's like a big concrete bridge,
truck scale.
Yeah, it's like you could drive Mack trucks on it, dump trucks. So they weigh you, you go dump your trash, and then they weigh you again, and however much weight you lost, they charge you by the ton or the pound, I guess. And that's what it is. So when I say the dump, I don't know if people got upset that I said I go.
No,
to the
dump. it was so funny to see how many comments that struck up.
Oh, really?
It's just like out of that whole episode, it was just like dump. There was like
other names for dumps.
I know. What was it called? Was it Australia? They were calling it like the tip.
The
tip. Yeah.
Well, because you tip a truck or
I guess
dump a truck and tip it. I guess I would call it that.
But no, I've always called it the dump, but the green cans I've heard as well. I'm used to that. And then dumpster divers is another.
Dumpster divers, those
are the folks that trash the treasure sort of thing.
It's very normal around here. You know, like there is no, if you live outside city limits, there is no trash pickup unless there's only one company that does private trash pickup.
But now,
so it's just a part of life to
but
take your own trash.
Yeah. This dump has compactors now. There's no green cans. I think there's still green cans over in Graham County though.
There might be.
There are.
Yeah.
There are.
They just have the
It's
green
interesting.
can
I mean,
but then they take them
to
the dump.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there multiple times a week. You know, I know
Sometimes
the
twice a
guys-
day.
Yeah, sometimes 4 times a day. I know the guys that work there. I mean, they're friends of mine. Some people that I've gone to school with that are, still working around. By the way, a lot of people I went to school with here in high school, they're gone. You know, I mean, I only see a handful of people that I knew from school here. Maybe, something like that. But anyway, it's a very interesting place.
Just as more they moved off somewhere else.
Yeah. A lot of people just couldn't wait to leave. I don't know. I never wanted to leave. I don't know. I mean, everybody's got their own.
I'm just saying they didn't pass away. They're not gone forever.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
They're just gone.
I mean, make it sound like that, but yeah, they're just gone. I don't know where they are, and I don't. But
there's but you also take like brush, like all that brush you cut, you can take it there, and then you take it to a different. But you take it to a different site.
Right. That's right. That's called the landfill. But that would be people would think that's where the trash all goes eventually.
Well, technically it was the old landfill.
Oh, was it actually?
Yeah, and it's got full.
Well, then they started another one or something. I don't know.
Well, that's why we have to ship it. That's why it's taken out now.
Okay.
That was the landfill, and then it's full, so it's covered with dirt.
So we had our own actual trash landfill here one time. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's because that you drive through going out there to get to where you dump the brush.
That is the old landfill.
Underneath that is all.
No way.
That's why there's no homes built there or anything like that, even though it's a beautiful house site.
It is beautiful out there.
Yeah.
And
but it's on top of the landfill.
Yeah, so if you need to dump brush, like tree branches, limbs, bushes, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Now you can't dump big stuff like big logs and stumps. They don't allow stumps.
Yeah.
But yeah, you drive down there, you dump it, you go back, they weigh you out, same thing. And I've been doing that a lot lately too. So
man, Ben, you just got me excited. Maybe we could do a methane capture small little power plant and get some local power.
Tap that methane.
I'm pretty sure it's called the old landfill.
Oh wow, I didn't know. We need to
that's cool.
Search the
because now it gets put on a truck and shipped to Georgia.
We definitely need to do a video out there now.
I don't want to say I'm fascinated, but I'm a little bit fascinated with the process of how they to intake material, trash, what they do with it, transfer it, put it here, put it in this truck, move it, send it. It's all a process.
It is.
And I like processes, and I like
processes.
I like learning how stuff works. So it's what's crazy is I could really get interested about almost anything if you tell me like how it works. Then you got me, so I can understand something.
We still need to get you up with the dirty jobs guy.
I know, Mike Rowe. Where you at, man? No, he doesn't.
Next guest.
Got invited to a party with Mike Rowe at in Vegas when we were there. Remember that?
Yeah,
like a dinner thing.
He didn't come though to the Sashco party. There was some people that we know with Sashco, the makers of Lexel and Big Stretch that we love and use. That we're trying to reach out to Mike Rowe, and because of his clout. And
he was doing an event that same night.
Oh, was he really?
That was the night he was doing that event that we couldn't go to because we were at the Sashco
event. Oh, that's right.
event.
What was it? I forget now.
He was speaking at. We got the invite late.
Okay.
And I showed it to you, and you're like, "Dang."
Okay, well, it's all of this was in an effort to bring awareness about the need for people in the trades. And people, schooling for the trades like, carpentry and all the plumbing and electrical things. And, he's a big proponent of that.
Yep.
He's been working with the people from this old house, like Norm Abram and maybe Tom Silva or some of those guys. And they're like on TV promoting, hey, get in the trades.
Yeah.
We need people to work on houses and other things, all kinds of things.
All the things.
But yeah, I used to watch his show all the time, Dirty Jobs. What a great show. And he got in some real predicaments, but it was good entertainment for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I think the dump is gonna just wrap us up.
All right,
we'll
wrap it up with the dump today.
But it's just funny how striking people found that.
They do call it the dump in Australia. It was somewhere else they called it.
No, I heard the tip somewhere. That was
that's definitely there.
UK
but not
or something like. It was maybe UK.
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
All right, we may never know, but all right. Well, that's great. All right. Well, hey, appreciate everybody joining us as always. Ben, thanks. Brett.
Yeah.
And
next week.
Yes.
All right. So next week,
well,
special surprise. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say who it is.
Okay.
But the guest thing went over so well with Arlo. Will any guests ever stand up to Arlo? We don't know. So we're going to keep trying.
Only time will tell.
Yeah. So we've got another guest lined up for next week's episode. So you'll listen to this one. We'll do that. And then we'll jump into the naked prosthetics one the week after.
Okay.
Just so that people know what's coming. So next week, be prepared for a guest.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining. And we're going to roll out of here. You sure you don't got anything else about the dump you want to add?
I mean, it's definitely not a landfill.
Okay. I've had some ideas, by the way.
Okay.
Let me say this.
Oh.
I wish, and I promise I'll shut up, but I wish that we could do a thing where I don't know, is it maybe an incinerator? We've talked about this. I know it's like a multi-bazillion dollar facility, but some countries can burn it all.
50 to 100
and
million.
make energy and then recover all them if there's any metals.
It's called WTE, waste to energy power plant.
Okay. That would be cool. Man, that's such a cool idea.
This is a perfect location for it, actually.
But I mean, whatever. We can suggest all kinds of great ideas, but the reality and actuality of making something like that happen, I'm sure, is an extreme.
Everything's expensive.
I know. I'm just dreaming. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
I'll look into it.
I'm gonna look into it.
Okay.
There I go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, be curious. If you don't know, just ask. Thanks for being with us.
See you next time.